Hello people of the earth, it's Ed Hill Repeats Bud here. Today I've got an initial look for you of a light, nimble and aggressive race shoe, the New Balance Fuelcell SC Pacer. Welcome back to the channel, cats. You tuning in is always appreciated. If you've yet to do so, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications when I roll out the new videos for you. And it really helps us out too if you give this video a thumbs up like, but also share this video with your running buddies. Dankeschön. 228 grams here, which is pretty much spot on 8 ounces for my pair of the Fuelcell SC Pacer from New Balance. I picked up a UK 11.5, which is a US size 12. I tend to size up half a size for New Balance shoes. I've gone for an 11, I think I've been a little bit snug. This one fits pretty much in the same vein as the RC Elite version 2 from last year. These set me back 160 Earth credits. Actually, they didn't. They set me back 128 Earth credits because I managed to use a discount on them. But the retail price is 160, so that's what we got to go with, right? So that makes the shoe £25 more expensive than Nike's Streetfly model and about £10 less than Adidas's Takumi Sen 8. Midsole stack in my pair of the shoes is 32mm in the heel and 25 in the forefoot. Does feel a little bit more aggressive because we've got a slightly lower stack in the heel and the forefoot compared to both the other shoes I mentioned a moment ago. We'll start with the upper first. Super thin mesh here with some extremely large ventilation holes that stretch all the way around the side of the shoe into the toe box and then back around again. It really is the Swiss cheese of shoes. It's one of the most minimal constructions actually that I've seen on a running shoe. It's pretty much a spike upper placed atop of a more cushioned midsole. The tongue is almost like the ear of a mouse. Very felty and there's no gusseting whatsoever there, so when you do tie up the shoe you need to make sure that the tongue is laying flat across the top of the foot. Pretty much every element of the upper here is very flexible yet still containing. It's a very different fit in the Pacer compared to the Rebel 2 that I tested out last year. I mean, that came up even a bit snug in an 11.5. This seems to fit more with that sort of ethos of going a half size up from most brands. Very stretchy flat laces here. Some people will go running from this model when they hear that straight away. They're just about right though for what they're needed for. There is minimal padding here on the tongue, so careful attention to lace tension is needed here. That's the name of the game if you want to play with the SC Pacer. There's a very thin heel counter back here which is very small, does provide a little bit of structure here in the rear of the shoe. I'd say that the actual profile of the shoe back here is closer to the RC Elite version 1. A comfortable upper here as there's not really an awful lot to actually worry about. There's just so little of it that you don't really notice it all that much. Though you do need to spend some time fooling around with the laces to get the tension just right so that that fit is spot on and you don't get any heel slip. As I say, a spike upper placed onto the midsole of a road shoe, and as such I do see the lifespan of the materials here perhaps reduced a little bit. It's not going to be something that you can use every single day, it's simply going to wear out. I mean, I've seen personally a host of runners that have had problems with the durability of the upper on the Rebel 2, and that's a lot more substantive than what we have here. Premium training sessions and racing only for this one. I'll give it a 2.5 out of 3 for the upper after my initial runs.
Midsole now.
Midsole wise, don't be fooled by the look of the foam here. It's a lot less than what you think. If you whip out that insole there's only a slither of fuel cell material between your foot and the carbon plate. Really does affect the feel here of the SC Pacer. In a strange way, it's actually close to that of the Cloud Monster from On Running in terms of the feel in the heel. The midsole material does cup around the foot a little bit back there, and it makes the Sen 8 and the Streetfly seem like a brand new mattress in comparison. This one's a bit more like Mr. Muggins' Z-Bed in Carry On Camping. You can really feel that plate under the midfoot there. It's pretty much directly under a little bit of foam and the rubber here in the forefoot. It's propulsive and engaging when pushed at pace. Stable and okay at recovery paces. I believe this shoe will be a really good low distance racer, but also very reasonable for repeat sessions too. I hit my 5k pace and a little faster on some 400 meter repeats on my first test, and I found the shoe to be really nimble with lots of energy return, especially on push-off. It certainly does promote a nice quick cadence. I think the increased amount of foam in the forefoot area here really does reward you on foot strike. Does feel like a shoe that wants you to get up on the mid to forefoot, so certainly a shoe that's more aimed at those 5 to 10k efforts. I think that lighter and leaner runners will probably prefer this one, but I think that reduced cushion there in the heel section of the shoe probably put off those needing more impact protection, and many will find this one far too minimal to use for a half marathon. I think that well-maintained roads and track will be the best fit for this very minimal beast. I'm going to give it a 2.4 out of 3 after my initial runs, mainly for the reduced versatility of the shoe, and sadly because a number of the positive points from the midsole are completely spoilt by the outsole. Outsole, let's get to it. Bit of a travesty. There is a huge amount of exposed midsole material, as you can see here in the SC Pacer, and sadly that adds up to a shoe that almost vacuums up rocks and debris straight into the midsole. It's almost welcoming road debris to get lodged in there. I've already had to pull out a couple of stones here with some pliers, so literally gone straight through, and it was pretty much exactly where you'd expect to see just some more rubber. Why on earth they've chosen to have such a minimal amount, I do not know. I'll try and capture this on the video. I don't know if you can see it, but where the rubber actually sits is sort of below the foam. It's like the cutouts have just been done a little bit too deep. I've already noticed that there's a review up on New Balance's site as well of someone that's picked up the shoe and had exactly the same problem. The foam here is going to grind down especially quickly here in the midfoot area. It's just really fragile stuff, and that energy arc cutout here is just a magnet for grime and dirt and debris. Just anything's going to get stuck in there, and it will. In other models from other manufacturers, we've seen the downfall of this already, so I'm not convinced. Now, some people might say, well, when the foam compresses down, the rubber will then meet the ground and the surface. Well, I kind of understand that, but it still seems like a bizarre situation here where you've got rubber that's actually lower down than the actual exposed midsole material pretty much throughout the whole of the outsole. I would assume the rubber's there as an element to stop some of the degradation of that material, but it simply isn't working here. On wet surfaces, imagine this, you'll just be on the midsole foam itself. So you've been warned. I've also found that there's quite a large gap between the edges of the rubber and the foam, and there's loads and loads of stuff getting caught up in there. I can see that destroying the midsole very quickly. I mean, if I'd used this shoe for the Stourhead 10k recently, where I used the Sen 8, it would have demolished the shoe in probably one run. So this is severely limiting, again, the versatility of the SC Pacer. I probably would have ripped the upper to pieces as well on that course, whereas the Sen 8 just looks fine. Testing of the outsoles on roads and pavements as well, so nothing particularly torturous about that. I'd say if you're running on country roads where there's lots of debris, do not go for this shoe. If you're running on track maybe where there's just nothing there and it's just the surface, you're probably going to be fine. But it really does limit the versatility if you've got to worry about all of those things. I've no idea how long this is going to hold up. I'll give it a 1.3 out of 3 for the outsole after my initial runs. Big disappointment. Value now. So I can really easily rank the lower stack super shoes for you. It's not going to take me long. This thing will probably be third behind the Streakfly, and then top would be the Sen 8. Just seems like a massive missed opportunity, this shoe. Got a really light, nimble upper, a pretty good midsole, and then a terrible outsole. If you like your shoes to be a firework, you know, sort of goes off and you can enjoy it for 5 seconds. If it's just all pace and speed, you're just going to use it for racing perhaps. No worries, go and pick it up. But if durability and longevity are a concern, then you probably want to look elsewhere. I just don't see that the SC Pacer is really going to last all that long. You'll be picking out stones from the crushed up midsole material pretty much every run, and remembering that time when you had 160 earth credits in your wallet. If you have picked it up, I'd say save it for racing and premium training sessions only. Make sure the roads are clear beforehand, perhaps go out with a dustpan and brush, or only run with it on the track. I'll give it a 1.5 out of 3 for value after my initial runs. If I have added all the scores up correctly, that gives us a 7.7 out of 12 for the new Balance Fuelcell SC Pacer. It's just a huge missed opportunity, this one. Have you picked up the shoe, or are you thinking about it? Or is this one that you've now pushed to the side? Let me know your thoughts and your opinions down in the comments. Remember, this is a shoe I've picked up with my own cash, so I've tried to be very objective about it. I like the upper and the midsole, but can't see it lasting long. It's a bit like a sparkler or a Catherine wheel. A musical interlude for you. One of my favourite rock and roll albums ever has got to be Bo Diddley's Beach Party. I think this was recorded in 63 but released in 64. I think it got in like the top 20 here in the UK. A fantastic live recording actually from a beach in South Carolina. And I believe it to be one of the very first rock and roll live recordings ever made. There's some fantastic tunes on here. It really has the essence of what made rock and roll exciting in the first place. In fact, it contains a few seconds, a few bars of music which I believe to be the most exciting and propulsive ever created. Towards the end of track 3, which is Hey Bo Diddley, there's this rhythm and forward momentum created by the music, which I think is perhaps the most kind of human yet exciting, naturally generated feeling ever. Bo Diddley just gets into this rhythm on the guitar, and that combined with the drums, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. You have to listen to it, guys. When I was a young kid, I used to sing On Top of Old Smoky to myself, and that's track 4, and I particularly like track 5, which is Bo Diddley's Dog as well. So lots of howling going on in that one. It's really distorted, it's only in mono, it's kind of a mess in places, but I really love this album. A timeless little fragment of rock and roll that is sadly something we just don't see these days. It's all too polished and pristine. They've forgotten what it's all about. Go and check it out, guys. Bo Diddley's Beach Party by Bo Diddley. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's always appreciated. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications so you're notified. Also, give this video a thumbs up, like, and share it with your running buddies. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you